Diary entry. Lunar New Year's Eve. Time, just past midnight. Mood, nostalgic, peaceful. Tonight was one of those rare and precious evenings that feels both eternal and fleeting, the kind you wish you could bottle and replay forever. The whole family gathered in the living room just before midnight, the air humming with warmth and laughter. We had all been busy earlier in the day preparing the house, cooking dishes for the feast, and cleaning every corner to welcome a fresh start. But now, everything felt still, calm, like the world was holding its breath for the new year to arrive. On the TV, Tao Quan played, as it always does, a tradition no one ever questions. Even the younger cousins who usually sneak off to play games sat glued to the screen. We laughed at the jokes, the satire, the familiar characters who return year after year to report on the affairs of the mortal world to the Jade Emperor. There's something timeless about it, like watching a mirror of ourselves through a comedic lens. Meanwhile, in the corner, Mum and Grandma were arranging the Mum Gu Kwa, each fruit placed carefully, chosen not just for color or shape, but for meaning, prosperity, health, peace, and hope. The pomelo sat proud in the center, surrounded by bananas, oranges, dragon fruits, and a few ripe mangoes. It wasn't just decoration, it was a prayer in fruit form. And then, just as the final jokes of Tao Quan faded into fireworks on the screen, we all turned our attention to the family altar. Dad lit the first incense stick of the year. The smoke curled slowly, gently, carrying our wishes skyward. No one spoke. The quiet was sacred. We bowed our heads, each of us whispering our own silent hopes to the ancestors. For health, for harmony, for dreams to find their way to us. That moment, surrounded by everyone I love, standing in the soft glow of the altar, was more powerful than any celebration. It was the kind of silence that says everything. As I write this, the faint scent of incense still lingers in my clothes, and outside, fireworks echo in the distance. But in my heart, it's that still moment I'll carry with me, the peace, the unity, the love of family gathered in the gentle beginning of a brand new year. Happy New Year. Chukmung Namoy. Diary entry. My first solo motorbike ride to Huabing. Date, a bright Sunday in early spring. Time, late evening. Back home. Proud, a little sunburnt, and deeply alive. Today, I did something I'll never forget. I took my motorbike and rode all the way to Huabing by myself. No one rode pillion, no one to check the map for me, no one to remind me to stop for water or to slow down on the bends. Just me, the hum of the engine, and the road stretching ahead. I had always wanted to do this, a solo trip, even a short one. And Huabing felt just right. Far enough to feel like an adventure, close enough that I could still make it home before dark. The road curved through the hills like a ribbon, passing tiny villages, rice fields, and limestone cliffs. The wind smelled of warm grass and the occasional whiff of someone grilling corn by the roadside. I stopped once for a bottle of green tea at a roadside stall. The old man there smiled and said, "Di mot mina? Joy the?" I just grinned like a kid who'd won a prize. And then I saw it, the massive Huabing hydropower plant, rising at the edge of the Da River like something carved out of history and ambition. I parked the bike and stood there, taking it all in. The roar of water, the sheer size of the dam, the way it held back so much power, it made me feel small in the best possible way. Like I had touched something bigger than myself. I walked along the dam, read the signs, snapped a few pictures, and just breathed. No rush, no one waiting. Just me, finally here. The concrete walls and the echoing turbines reminded me of how far we've come as a country, from hardship to innovation, from candles to electricity. And here I was, just a tiny dot in that long story. The ride home was quieter, the sun lower, the shadows longer. I rode more slowly, not because I was tired, but because I didn't want the day to end too quickly. I felt different, stronger, somehow. Like I had passed a small test no one saw but me. It may have just been a few hours and a few hundred kilometers, but it felt like a rite of passage. My first solo ride, my first taste of freedom that was fully mine. Note to self, there are more roads to ride. Don't wait too long to take the next one. Diary entry, the intense days before the university entrance exam. Date, just a few days before the big day. Late at night, when everyone else is asleep. Mood, exhausted, anxious, but strangely focused. These past few weeks have felt like I've been living in a pressure cooker. Every day has become a loop. Wake up early, sit at my desk, revise notes until my eyes blur, take timed mock tests, eat something, usually whatever's quickest, then study more. Even when I lie down to sleep, my brain keeps whispering formulas, essay outlines, and grammar rules into the silence. There's something about this period, the weeks before the university entrance exam, that feels unreal. It's like time is moving and standing still at the same time. My friends and I are all in the same boat, messaging each other things like, I can't remember anything, or what even is integration again? Just to cope. Misery really does love company. Mum has been quietly supportive, making sure I eat enough, bringing in cut fruit or warm tea without saying much. I know she's worried, even if she doesn't say it out loud. Dad gives the occasional pep talk. Don't push too hard, but don't slack off either, which somehow makes me feel both comforted and more pressured. Typical. I miss normal life. I miss watching silly shows without guilt, or riding my bike just because the weather's nice. But right now, everything revolves around that day, that exam, that future I've been chasing in my head for the last 3 years. I know I'm not the only one feeling like this. But still, in moments like this late at night, when it's just me and my desk lamp, it feels lonely, heavy, like everything depends on this one shot. But strangely, under all the anxiety, there's a fire, a kind of focus I've never had before. Like I'm doing something that matters, something that will shape the next chapter of my life. And that gives me strength. Just a few more days. One last push. Let's make it count. Diary entry, the flood I'll never forget. Date, the day after the storm. Time early morning, sky still gray. Mood, tired, shaken, but quietly hopeful. Yesterday felt like a scene from a movie, the kind that you watch holding your breath, except this time we were living it. It started slowly. In the late afternoon, the sky turned an eerie shade of gray-green. The wind picked up, trees began to bend, and even the birds went quiet. I remember standing at the window, watching the clouds roll in like a giant blanket. Then came the rain. Heavy, endless, pounding the roof like it wanted to get inside. As soon as the storm alerts came, the whole family kicked into action. We moved things to higher ground, tied the motorbike to the iron gate, taped the windows, and made sure we had candles and a flashlight ready. The power cut out around dinner time, so we ate in the dim glow of a single candle, the wind howling just beyond the walls, like something alive. That night, no one really slept. I lay there, heart racing every time a loud crack sounded. Maybe a tree, maybe a roof tile flying off somewhere. The house shook a little. Water crept up from the street and started pooling at the front door. We took turns sweeping it away with old towels, hoping it wouldn't rise any higher. By morning, the rain had stopped, but the street had turned into a river. Water came up to my knees when I stepped outside. Plastic bags, fallen branches, even someone's sandal floated past. It was strangely silent. No cars, no voices, just the drip of water falling from power lines and roofs. But what I'll remember most is what happened next. Neighbors began to appear with brooms, buckets, and shovels. Someone passed out warm soy milk. Uncle Nam from 2 houses down brought out his old pump to help drain the water from people's homes. No one asked for anything. Everyone just helped, without needing to be told. Like the storm had shaken something awake in us. Kindness, togetherness. Our house is fine. A bit wet, a bit muddy, but nothing broken. We were lucky. Others weren't. But we're all helping clean up together, and somehow that makes it feel a little lighter. Storms are scary, but the morning after, when people come together, when silence turns into footsteps and laughter, that's what stays with me most. Nature can break things, but people, we rebuild. Diary entry, the farewell ceremony. The day of the Lebegang. Late afternoon, after the ceremony. Overwhelmed, nostalgic, heart full. Today was our last day as high school students. I still can't believe it's over. The morning started early, too early for someone who barely slept last night, thinking about all the moments that led up to this day. I put on my white dye, the same one I've worn for years, but today it felt different, heavier somehow. Not because of the fabric, but because I knew it would be the last time I wore it as a student. School was already buzzing when I arrived. The courtyard was full of students, teachers, flowers, laughter, and quiet tears hidden behind bright smiles. The national flag flapped above us, and when the school drum rang out to mark the end of the year, the sound echoed deep in my chest, like a final heartbeat of our school life. There were speeches, of course, from teachers, from students, even the principal. I tried to listen, but my mind kept drifting to memories. Sneaking snacks into class, laughing until our stomachs hurt, racing to school to avoid being late, the stress of exams, the joy of simple moments that didn't seem special at the time, but now feel priceless. Then came the shirt signing. We all brought markers. We scribbled names, hearts, inside jokes, silly nicknames, whatever came to mind. My white shirt quickly became a messy canvas of love and memory. One friend wrote, "Best friends forever, even when life gets crazy." Another wrote, "Don't forget me when you're famous." One simply wrote, "Cam ơn vì đã là một phần tuổi thanh xuân của tớ." I wanted to cry, and I did. So did many others. We hugged like we'd never see each other again. And maybe for some of us, that will be true. That's the hardest part. Today wasn't just a goodbye to school. It was goodbye to a version of ourselves, the students we were, the years we'll never get back. But it was also a beginning of something new. Adulthood, maybe. Or just the unknown. I'm scared, I'm excited, I'm grateful, all at once. This is the end of one chapter and the first page of the next. Goodbye, high school, and thank you. Forever. Diary entry, learning grandma's secret recipe. Date, a quiet Sunday afternoon, right after dinner. Mood, warm, nostalgic, and full in every sense. Today, I finally learned how to make teet ko tring, not just any version, but grandma's version. The one I've eaten since I was a kid, the one that always made our house smell like comfort and Lunar New Year and home all at once. It started with me standing in the kitchen, notebook in hand, trying to act confident. But let's be honest, I was nervous. Grandma stood next to me, calm as always, her sleeves rolled up, her hands moving like she'd done this 1,000 times. Because she has. "Don't write too much," she smiled. "You'll remember better if you feel it." She showed me how to marinate the pork belly. Not too much fish sauce, just enough garlic, and always a pinch of sugar first to bring out the flavor. She didn't use exact measurements. It was all by eye, by feel, by memory. That was the magic. The smell of caramelized sugar hit first, that deep golden scent that means something good is coming. Then the pork sizzled in the pot, and she lowered the heat like it was a sacred ritual. Eggs went in next, peeled perfectly, soft but firm, and the pot simmered for hours. We checked on it together, lifting the lid every now and then, letting the steam hit our faces. It smelled like childhood. While we waited, she told me stories about how she learned the recipe from her mother, how she used to cook it during wartime when meat was rare, and how she saved the best bits for the children. She didn't call it a lesson, but that's what it was, a lesson in food, in family, in love. We ate it together at dinner, and even though I helped make it, it still tasted like Grandma's cooking. Rich, deep, familiar. Like a memory on a spoon. I don't think it's just a dish. It's a piece of our family history. Passed down through pots, through hands, through heart. One day I'll teach it too. And I'll begin just like she did. Don't write too much. Feel it. Diary entry. Karaoke night to remember. Date, last Saturday night. Time, just got home. Voice a little hoarse. Mood, giddy, nostalgic, and still laughing inside. Tonight was legendary. We went out for karaoke. Me, a few close friends, and a couple of colleagues from work. What started as a casual plan somehow turned into one of those nights you remember for years. The room was small and dimly lit, as always. Neon lights flickering around the screen, the air conditioner humming above us, and that classic cheesy background music already playing before we even picked a song. The kind of room where time disappears and everyone forgets their adults for a while. At first, no one wanted to sing. Just flipping through the songbook, pretending to look for something, waiting for someone brave enough to grab the mic. And then someone, not me, queued up, "On Ku Dee Dee." And the moment the intro started, the whole room lit up. Suddenly, we were shouting the lyrics, laughing at how off-key we were, and singing like no one was judging. Eventually, it was my turn. My heart pounded as I held the mic, but after the first verse of "Chakay Dose Ve," something shifted. I forgot about being shy. I wasn't performing. I was just feeling. And everyone was right there with me, swaying, clapping, throwing in harmonies and dramatic hand gestures. It felt ridiculous. It felt perfect. There were ballads, pop hits, even a few old school Vietnamese songs that made us laugh until our sides hurt. At one point, we all sang Bong Bong Bang Bang with full choreography. No shame, no filter, just fun. We shared snacks, clinked glasses of soda and beer, and took blurry, glowing selfies that won't look great, but will mean everything. Karaoke in Vietnam isn't just about singing, it's about letting go. It's about friendship, laughter, bad notes, and bonding over shared songs and silly moments. Tonight, we were louder than life and happier than we've been in a long time. Note to self: sing more often, laugh harder. Don't wait for someone else to pick the first song. Diary entry, my first time in a note. Date, a few years ago, but it still feels fresh. Time, late evening, back in my hometown. Mood, awestruck, nostalgic, and full of wanderlust. I still remember the very first time I stepped foot in Hanoi. It felt like I had landed on another planet. Louder, brighter, faster, and somehow more alive than anything I'd ever experienced before. The first thing that hit me was the sound. Not just noise, life. A constant hum of motorbikes zooming in every direction. And I mean every direction. The beeping of horns, vendors shouting out their goods, the chatter of people spilling out of cafes and street corners. It was chaos. Beautiful, rhythmic chaos. And then the smell. A mix of petrol, grilled pork, steaming pho, and the occasional whiff of fresh herbs or wet concrete after a sudden rain. I remember standing at a street corner near Ho Gum, holding my phone in one hand, completely overwhelmed, trying to take it all in without getting run over. The buildings were taller than anything I'd ever seen back home. Old French architecture squeezed between glowing modern glass towers. Narrow alleyways led to hidden cafes and tiny shops that sold everything from dried lotus seeds to trendy sneakers. It felt like a treasure hunt. But the food. Oh, the food. I tried bun cha from a smoky sidewalk stall, just like I'd seen on TV. The auntie smiled when she saw how unsure I looked, then handed me a plate with grilled pork, rice noodles, herbs, and that magical dipping sauce. One bite and I was hooked. Later that night, I had my first proper egg coffee. Thick, creamy, warm, like dessert in a teacup. Every moment was a sensory overload, dodging traffic like a video game, getting lost in the old quarter, taking pictures of everything, even things that probably seemed boring to locals. But to me, it was like stepping into a living postcard. I remember thinking, how do people live like this every day? And by the end of the trip, how can I not? That first trip to Hanoi changed something in me. It made the world feel bigger, messier, and more exciting. I realized how much there is to explore, not just places, but stories, flavors, people. I came home with sore feet, a full belly, and a heart wide open. And I've been dreaming of the next adventure ever since. Diary entry, a countryside wedding to remember. Date, last month, but still fresh in my mind. Late evening after the party. Joyful, a little tired, and deeply moved. It wasn't just a wedding, it was a whole village celebration. Last month, my cousin got married, and the ceremony was held at our family's home in the countryside. I've been to weddings before, but this one had a magic all its own. The morning started with a rush of activity. Aunties chopping vegetables, uncles setting up colorful tarps in the front yard, kids running around half-dressed in their wedding outfits, and someone always shouting instructions over loud music that never really stopped all day. The smell of bun bo, galuk, and nem ron filled the air before 9 a.m. The wedding tent, bright red, pink, and blue, was tied between trees and bamboo poles, covering a maze of round metal tables and tiny plastic stools. It was packed with neighbors, relatives from all over, old friends of my grandparents, and people I'd never met but who still greeted me like family. That's what makes countryside weddings special. It's not about formality, it's about belonging. I helped serve food, endless trays of steaming rice, plates of roasted pork, bowls of soup, and mountains of fresh herbs. Everyone ate until they couldn't move, and then somehow kept eating. Between courses, there was beer, toasts, laughter, and Mot Hai Ba Zo, echoing across the yard like a song. The ceremony itself was simple, but beautiful. The bride walked slowly down the courtyard steps in her traditional red ao dai, escorted by her family. The groom looked nervous, holding incense in one hand and a bouquet in the other. The elders offered words of blessing, and then came the tea, served to the parents, the grandparents, and every respected elder around. And then the music really kicked in. Loud karaoke, drums, someone with a mic trying to hit high notes from a bolero song, and everyone clapping along. Kids danced. So did the old men after a few shots of rice wine. Even I was pulled into the crowd and made to sing, badly, but no one cared. By sunset, the tables were sticky, the ground was covered with bottle caps and flower petals, and the air was full of leftover smoke and laughter. It wasn't perfect. It was loud, chaotic, a little messy, but it was real. A true Vietnamese countryside wedding, full of joy, community, and the kind of memories that stay with you long after the music fades. Note to self, there is nothing more beautiful than a celebration that brings a whole village together, and nothing more powerful than family, food, and laughter under one big tarp. Diary entry, Tet Trung Tu through a child's eyes. Date, many moons ago, but it feels like yesterday. Time, mid-autumn night, glowing with memories. Mood, joyful, wistful, and full of wonder. Tet Trung Tu was the night I looked forward to more than any birthday when I was a child. There was something magical about walking through my neighborhood with a star-shaped lantern in my hand, Denong Sao, glowing like a tiny sun in the night. The warm yellow light flickered as I walked, and I felt like the moon itself was smiling down at us, watching over every step. The air was filled with the deep, thundering beat of the Trong Lun, lion dance drums, that echoed down the street and straight into my chest. Every time I heard that rhythm, my feet started bouncing, even if I didn't want them to. And then came the lions, bright red and yellow creatures with blinking eyes and wagging tails, dancing and jumping and spinning like they had minds of their own. I stood there with my mouth open, completely mesmerized, every single time. All around me were kids just like me, lanterns in every shape, fish, rabbits, butterflies, all bobbing up and down in the dark like a little parade of dreams. We didn't need expensive toys or fancy clothes. All we needed was a lantern, the beat of the drum, and the excitement of being out after dark. And of course, mooncake. I remember biting into the sweet, sticky crust and tasting the rich filling inside. Mung bean, lotus seed, and even the salted egg yolk I pretended not to like, but secretly loved. Grandma always gave me a whole one and said, "Eat slowly. The moon is watching." After the parade, we'd gather with family in the yard, sharing fruit, sipping tea, and just staring at the full moon, big and round and glowing like a storybook cover. There was a kind of quiet happiness in those moments that I didn't understand back then. I just knew I felt safe, loved, part of something special. Looking back now, I realized Trung Thu wasn't just about fun. It was about togetherness, the kind only a childhood festival under the stars can give you. One lantern, one mooncake, 100 shining memories. I'd give anything to be that little kid again, just for one more Trung Thu night. Date, a day I'll never forget. Time, just after checking my bank account. Mood, proud, emotional, and deeply grateful. Today, I received my first paycheck. Not a reward from school, not an allowance, not some lucky money, my own, earned from real work, real hours, and real effort. I remember opening the banking app and seeing the number pop up. For a second, I just stared at it, not because it was a huge amount, but because of what it meant. Every early morning, every late night, every nervous moment wondering if I was doing things right, it all led to this. I let out a laugh. Then I cried a little. Just a little. The first thing I thought of? My parents. They never asked for anything, never expected a single dong from me. But I knew, from the moment I got this job, that the first thing I'd do with my earnings was take them out for a meal. Nothing fancy, just something nice. A way to say, thank you for everything, for every meal you paid for, every school fee you covered, every time you said, "It's okay, we've got it," when I worried about money. I remember sitting at the restaurant later that evening. Mum smiled so wide when I told her, "This one's on me." Dad tried to act casual, but I could see it in his eyes. The pride, the quiet happiness. They kept asking, "Are you sure?" And I kept nodding until they finally just let themselves enjoy it. We laughed, we ate too much, and we took a blurry selfie that I'll probably print out one day and keep in my wallet. That meal cost a small chunk of my paycheck, but it was worth everything. I still have some of the money left, and I'll try to save most of it. But honestly, it's not just about the amount. It's the feeling of standing on my own 2 feet, even just a little, of being able to give back, even in the smallest way. Today, I wasn't just paid, I felt grown up. And I can't wait to keep working hard, not just for me, but for the people who've always believed in me. Diary entry, the traffic jam of all traffic jams. Date, some random Tuesday, but unforgettable. Time, 6:45 p.m., stuck, sweaty, and slightly amused. Mood, frustrated at first, then oddly entertained. Today I survived what might just be the most epic traffic jam of my life. Rush hour in the city is usually bad, but this was next level. It had just rained, not a gentle drizzle, but one of those classic tropical downpours that hits without warning and floods the streets in minutes. By the time I finished work and hopped on my motorbike, the clouds were clearing, but the roads, total chaos. Every direction I turned, there were bikes. Hundreds of them. Maybe thousands. We were packed so tightly that you couldn't move an inch. At some point, everyone just gave up and turned off their engines. The entire street became this strange, steamy sea of helmets, ponchos, and blinking red brake lights. It should have been miserable. The heat from the wet asphalt, the smell of petrol mixing with wet clothes, the never-ending chorus of impatient horns. But somehow, it wasn't. There was a guy next to me eating a banh mi like he'd prepared for this moment. Another woman behind me took out a handheld fan and offered to share it. An old man made a joke about how we might as well celebrate tit here, since we weren't moving anytime soon. And just like that, a weird sense of community formed. Someone started playing music on their phone. A few people even joined in singing. It was surreal, a traffic jam turned street concert. Everyone was sweaty, tired, probably late, but we were all in it together. Eventually, the jam loosened. The engines rumbled back to life one by one, like a sleepy herd waking up. We moved inch by inch, splashing through puddles, waving goodbye to our temporary traffic friends. By the time I got home, I was drained. But oddly enough, I wasn't angry. There's something about those random shared moments with strangers, where life slows down, expectations break, and you find humor in the madness. Note to self, always keep snacks in your bag. And maybe, just maybe, don't rush through everything. Even traffic jams can teach you something. Diary entry, a school trip into history. Date, sometime in high school. Time, after the long ride back home. Mood, tired but inspired. Today, we went on a school trip I'll never forget to the Temple of Literature in Hanoi. The morning started like every school trip, chaotic, backpacks stuffed with snacks, loud chatter in the bus, and teachers trying to do head counts while we joked around and sang silly songs. I didn't expect much. I thought it would be just another educational tour. But when we stepped through the ancient stone gates, something changed. The noise of the city faded, and suddenly we were standing in a place older than everything we knew. The tour guide, an old man with a deep voice and the kind of face that made you want to listen, began telling us stories. Not just dry facts, but real stories. Of scholars who walked barefoot for days to take the imperial exams, of kings who built this place to honor knowledge, and of the Confucian values that shaped generations of Vietnamese students. We walked under red-tiled roofs, past stone turtles carrying names carved into tablets, the names of real people who had passed the royal exams hundreds of years ago. I touched one gently and imagined what it would have felt like to sit for that exam, to carry the hopes of an entire family on your shoulders. At one point, we stood in front of the giant ceremonial bell, and the guide said, "You are the next chapter of this history. What will your name stand for?" It gave me goosebumps. We took photos, of course, group pictures, goofy poses, peace signs in front of the gates, but something deeper stayed with me. A quiet sense of pride, that this history wasn't just something to learn about, it was ours. The ride home was quieter. Everyone was tired, dozing off, snacks long gone. But in my head, I was still walking through those courtyards, still thinking about the past and how it continues to shape us. Note to self, history isn't just in textbooks. Sometimes you walk right into it, and if you're lucky, it walks with you. Diary entry, pavement coffee and peace. Date, a typical lazy afternoon. Time, around 4 p.m., golden hour. Mood, calm. Content, quietly happy. There's no single date for this memory. It's more like a feeling that keeps coming back, again and again. It's the ritual of Café Ciudad Vieja, pavement iced coffee. And honestly, it might be my favorite kind of moment in this busy life. You know the scene. a crowded sidewalk somewhere in the city, lined with tiny plastic stools and metal tables that wobble slightly on uneven ground. The air smells faintly of roasted beans, petrol, and whatever someone's grilling nearby. You sit down, lean back, and the auntie gives you a glass of strong black coffee poured over thick layers of sweet condensed milk, with a side of ice that crunches when she drops it in. The best part? Stirring. There's something meditative about slowly mixing the coffee and milk, watching the dark and light swirl together into that rich caramel color. It's a moment where everything else fades. No rush, no emails, no deadlines. Just you, your glass, and the gentle clink of the spoon. Usually there's a friend sitting across from me, someone I don't need to impress or perform for. We talk about everything and nothing. About work, love, dreams we're still figuring out. And sometimes we don't talk at all. We just sit there, sipping slowly, watching the world roll by. Motorbikes weaving through traffic, school kids walking home with backpacks bigger than them, an old man selling lottery tickets, a couple laughing on the next stool. Time moves differently on the pavement. Slower, softer, kinder. I don't think it's about the coffee, really, though it's strong enough to wake your ancestors. It's about the pause. The moment you step out of the whirlwind of the day and remember what it feels like to just be. Note to self. Whenever life gets too loud, go find a stool on the sidewalk, order a café suada, sit down, and breathe. Diary entry, a day of memory and meaning. Date, the day of my grandfather's death anniversary. Time, late evening, after the last guests left. Mood, reflective, full, and quietly grateful. Today was my grandfather's Ngegyo, a day that always feels more like a family reunion than a funeral, but still carries a quiet, respectful weight. From early morning, the house was alive. The kitchen clattered with the sounds of knives chopping, pots boiling, oil sizzling. Aunties were preparing bangchung, galuk, thit ko, can mung, and countless other dishes that had to be just right. Not fancy, but thoughtful. Cooked with care, offered with heart. The living room filled with the sweet, smoky scent of incense. On the altar, we laid out fruit, flowers, and plates of food, all presented beautifully for our grandfather, as if he were still sitting among us. And in a way, it felt like he was. Relatives began to arrive, one by one. Some I see often, others only once a year on this day. But even after all the small talk and catching up, we always return to the same ritual. Lighting incense, bowing our heads, whispering silent prayers to the ones who came before us. It's solemn, but never heavy, more like sacred. And then the meal. We all gathered around, pulling up extra chairs, kids squeezed in wherever they could fit. The air was full of stories, old family tales, jokes, memories of the past. Someone brought up the time Grandpa scolded everyone for overcooking the rice. We all laughed, even the younger cousins who'd never met him. That's the power of memory. It keeps people alive in the spaces between us. There was no music, no loud celebration, but there was togetherness. The kind that only happens when you honor the same roots, the same blood, the same quiet love that runs through generations. As I sat there tonight, looking around the room at my family, so many faces old and new, I realized Ngaigo isn't just about death. It's about remembrance, about connection, about pausing once a year to say we haven't forgotten, we are still one. Note to self, the past never really leaves us. It sits at the table, listens to the stories, and lives on in every incense curl, every shared dish, every moment of family warmth. Diary entry, a thought on physiological needs. A quiet evening after a long day. Time, around 9 p.m., finally resting. Grounded, thoughtful, grateful for the basics. Today I was reminded of something so simple, yet so easy to forget. Our physiological needs, the most basic ones, truly shape everything else in life. This morning I skipped breakfast, thinking I'd save time. Big mistake. By 10 a.m. I was foggy, irritable, and couldn't focus on anything. My stomach growled louder than the office printer. It made me realize how something as basic as food can completely affect how we think, feel, and function. Later in the day, I passed by a construction site and saw workers resting under a tree, pouring water over their heads, wiping sweat from their necks. Just seeing that, the heat, the exhaustion, reminded me how essential water, rest, and shelter really are. Not fancy things, just the basics. When I got home, I took a long shower, drank cold water, and lay down for a while, and suddenly I felt like myself again. It's strange, isn't it? We chase success, love, meaning, but everything rests on a few core needs: food, water, sleep, air, warmth, safety. Maslow was right. Without meeting those physiological needs, we can't really climb to anything higher. I think today taught me to respect those needs more, not just for myself, but for others too. Because if someone's tired, hungry, or cold, they're not lazy. They're just human. Note to self: eat when you're hungry, rest when you're tired, drink water, take care of your body. It's the foundation of everything you hope to build. Diary entry: thinking about safety. Date: a calm evening after the rain, around 8:30 p.m. Reflective, grounded, quietly grateful. Lately, I've been thinking a lot about safety, not just in the obvious sense, but in the way it quietly shapes our lives every single day. When people talk about dreams and goals, they usually mention success, love, freedom. But none of that means much without safety. It's invisible until it's not. This morning, the rain was heavy and the roads were slick. I saw a motorbike slip near the corner, and a few strangers rushed to help. No one hesitated. And for a moment, I realized we all look out for each other in small ways. A helmet adjusted, a door held open, a phone call answered right away. It made me feel protected in a quiet, everyday kind of way. At home, I lock the doors, turn on the lights, and sit with my family at dinner. The news plays in the background. Stories of people living through war, storms, uncertainty. And suddenly, this ordinary meal feels sacred. To be safe, physically, emotionally, financially, is a kind of privilege we often forget to name. Safety isn't just locked doors or good health. It's knowing someone's got your back. It's job security. It's trusting that your tomorrow won't be stolen by fear or chaos. It's having a space, a person, a routine where your heart can rest. Note to self: never take safety for granted. Build it for yourself. Offer it to others, because when people feel safe, they begin to grow. And when they grow, they begin to shine. Diary entry on love and belonging. A slow, quiet Sunday. After dinner, soft music playing. Warm, a little emotional, deeply human. Today, I found myself thinking about something simple but powerful: our need to love and belong. It's not flashy or loud like ambition or success, but without it, everything else feels empty. This afternoon, I visited an old friend I hadn't seen in a while. We sat at a small coffee shop, no rush, just catching up over iced drinks. We laughed, shared stories, fell into old rhythms. It felt so easy, so natural. And yet it filled something in me I hadn't even realized was running low: that quiet craving to feel seen, heard, understood. Later, I came home to the familiar sounds of family: Mom asking if I'd eaten, Dad watching the news, the soft clinking of dishes in the sink. Nothing dramatic. But that too, that constant presence, is its own kind of love. A kind of belonging that wraps around you without needing words. I think that's what we're all searching for in the end. Not just romance or popularity, but connection. To be part of something. To be missed when we're gone. To have a seat at the table, whether it's with friends, family, or just one person who truly gets us. Maslow called it a need, and he was right. Without love and belonging, even the best food or the safest home can feel cold. Note to self: make time for the people who make your heart feel full. Say what you mean. Hug longer. Ask how someone really is. Because love doesn't always shout. Sometimes it just quietly stays. And that's enough. Diary entry on esteem. After a small personal win. Late evening, lights low. Mood: proud, reflective, quietly strong. Tonight, something small happened, but it meant a lot. I finished a project at work that had stressed me out for weeks. It wasn't perfect, but when my supervisor said, "You handled that really well," I felt something click inside me. Not just relief. Esteem. Not the loud, showy kind. No applause, no big reward. Just a quiet, solid feeling. I did something well, and someone saw it. Lately, I've realized how much we all need that: to feel capable, respected, valued. It's not about ego. It's about worth. About knowing we matter. About feeling that we're not invisible. That what we do and who we are is recognized. Sometimes esteem comes from others: praise, respect, encouragement. But the strongest kind? It comes from within. From keeping a promise to yourself, from pushing through something hard, from learning a new skill, speaking up when it's uncomfortable, or simply not giving up when no one's watching. Maslow was right again. After we feel safe and loved, we start to crave something deeper, to believe in ourselves. to be someone, not better than others, but better than we were yesterday. Note to self, celebrate small wins. Speak kindly to yourself. You don't need to be the best, just be better and braver than you were before. That's where real confidence grows. That's where esteem begins. Diary entry on reaching my full potential. Date, a quiet moment between dreams and doubt. Time, late night, the world asleep. Motivated, thoughtful, a little scared, but hopeful. Lately, I've been asking myself, what does it mean to reach my full potential? It's a big phrase, the kind you see in motivational quotes or hear in graduation speeches. But tonight, sitting here in the quiet, it feels more personal. Less like a finish line, more like a promise I've made to myself. To reach my full potential isn't about being famous or flawless. It's about becoming the most honest, most alive version of me. It's about using the talents I've been given and developing the ones I haven't. It's about learning constantly, pushing gently, trying again when I fail. Some days I feel close to it, when I create something I'm proud of, help someone in need, or take a scary step forward. Other days, I feel stuck, afraid I'm falling short, wasting time, going nowhere. But maybe growth isn't loud. Maybe it's quiet. Maybe reaching your potential means making 1,000 small choices, to be kind, to be focused, to keep going even when you don't feel ready. It's not about perfection. It's about progress. And no one else can define it for me. My full potential is mine to discover, in late night studying, in early morning walks, in deep conversations, in difficult decisions. Note to self, you don't have to get there today, but every choice you make, every word, every action is part of that journey. Keep climbing, keep learning, keep becoming. Your full potential isn't a destination, it's a way of living, with courage, intention, and heart. Diary entry on the need for variety. Date after switching up my daily routine, time early evening, feeling refreshed, mood, energized, playful, alive again. Today I did something different. I took a new route home, ordered a dish I've never tried before, banduk nong, who knew it was that good? And spent half an hour just sketching in my notebook, something I haven't done in years. And you know what? It changed my whole mood. I didn't even realize how bored I'd become with my daily routine. Same streets, same food, same schedule, same thoughts. Everything had become predictable, comfortable, yes, but also dull. It reminded me of something I once read. We all need certainty, but we also need variety. Not chaos, just little sparks of difference. Surprises, new textures in the fabric of life. Whether it's trying a new hobby, meeting someone new, or just changing the order of your day, variety keeps things fresh. It wakes you up, makes you feel again. Like today, I noticed the smell of flowers at a street vendor's stall. I noticed the way the sky turned orange behind the clouds. I noticed myself. Life isn't meant to be lived on repeat. Even small changes can create big shifts in energy and perspective. Note to self, try the new thing. Walk the unfamiliar road. Ask the unexpected question. You don't have to abandon routine, just dance around it. That's how we stay curious. That's how we stay alive.